happened, by the way, while Donna and I were joking around. Thanks, Donna, for for letting us riff a bit while we waited for technology to cooperate. Hello, welcome to our Yoga for the Creative Soul book club on this lovely day where we are reflecting upon sacred coincidences. That came up a lot. Harmony and unexpected insights. We always do a little check-in before the recording starts and have that chance to share what's been going on. How are we applying yoga and expressive arts into our personal growth journeys? And some of our discussion off camera today will come into the teaching, I believe. Lots of fun and profound things in our conversations. Now, for today, we are discussing the last of the observances for niyamas, which is the second limb in our eightfold path of yoga. The second of 8. And of that second limb, there are 5 parts, which we have been discussing over the last month and a half. Now, for today, as we're talking about the idea of what we'll call surrender, and we'll go more deeply into the nuance of this concept later today, we play with expressive arts. So you're always welcome to move through the video at your own pace. Skip over the parts that aren't a fit for you, don't make sense today. Pause the recording during some of the expressive activities. I'll often cue you to draw, but any of your favorite expressive arts modality are just fine here, whether that's writing or movement-based, whether that's musical composition or performance. It all fits. So I cue drawing, but I encourage you to make it your own. So we start with a little lesson, and then we go into some expressive arts activities. There's some yoga in there, breathing sometimes, movement sometimes, guided visualization, and so on. So before we get rolling, I do wish to acknowledge the origins of yoga, a tradition that began 5,000 or more years ago in India and made its way to the West a little over 100 years ago. Originally for the masters and now for the householders as well, for us to benefit from as we gain greater context of self and of reality. We are privileged, I myself as a settler am privileged to live, work, convene, create on lands of Canada's original peoples, specifically here, the lands of the neutral, as well as the Haudenosaunee and Anishnawbe peoples. And I encourage you to do your own research upon whose original lands are you existing, and in what ways can you support the current generations of caregivers of these lands. The more we join our energies, the more we're able to protect our lands, airs, and waterways. Now, today, we're talking about the yogic concept of surrender. This is a niyama, this is an observance of surrendering to a higher reality. And surrender might not actually be the literal translation of this concept, but it is the one commonly used as we're teaching yoga here in the West. So niyama, observance, these observances are guided by the idea of observing purity, observing health, and we gain a lot of mental health through this observance of Ishvara Pranidhan, surrender to the divine. And what do we mean here? We don't mean surrender in terms of passivity. What some folks were talking about in the check-in today was about feeling the pressure of time in this level of existence and going forth without attachment, just acknowledging, okay, I'm here now, this is what is here now, and how can I proceed? So it's not a passive surrender. It's not just rolling over and letting things happen. It's being an active participant. And when we look at the translations of these Sanskrit words, we'll see Ishvara translated as the divine. You might understand this as your true higher self, your soul. If you practice a religion, you could understand Ishvara as God, as the God that you know and worship, and that in academia is sometimes called the Godhead, which means it will apply to whatever God is a person's own religion and study. So however Ishvara makes sense to you, however the divine makes sense to you, cosmic consciousness, if you're more of a science-based, you might look at the consistency of math, the behavior of quantum particles, and understand the divinity in those sorts of miracles, if I may. Look into Fibonacci, for example, the golden ratio, if you want something interesting on that point, or anything that the quantum physicists are coming up with. It's pretty amazing. Pranidhan has several translations. So Sanskrit's an ancient language, and even ancient Sanskrit has gone through several iterations over human existence. You'll find Pranidhan translated as aspiration, right? Like our actions going into a certain purpose. This can be through prayer or meditation. This can be through our behaviors and lifestyle, through other actions. It's Pranidhan also translated as to fix to settle in, to abide in, or as an attempt to do that, an attempt in life. So you can see how, as we discuss these yogic concepts, there are layers and layers and layers of nuance. And this is where a couple of weeks ago we spoke of tapas, practice. And this is where practice becomes so important. I can talk to you about these concepts. However, it is your embodied understanding, which is what yoga is going for. Yoga gives us a lived experience. So it's not just disembodied philosophy. What is your embodied experience of this concept? Now, if we start to play with Ishvara Pranidhan as part of our mental health journey, as part of our yoga practice itself, as part of our expressive arts, Ishvara Pranidhan is asking us to accept what is. We can think of this as surrendering attachments so that we can receive and accept what is. And so interesting. I'm sorry for those who miss what happens off camera, because there's so much wisdom and insight in the personal experiences of the folks who are here. But in taking action and yet allowing what is, there is great insight and peace to be gained. There is union with the true self via that acceptance. Even as we're taking action, we're accepting the action itself, we're accepting the impetus for that action, and we're accepting the outcome of that action. We're not trying to change it. And when we go on our expressive arts journeys, when there is a call to creativity, we don't necessarily know where that inspiration is coming from. It's enough to know that the inspiration is. We can accept it. We can move through the creative process, and whatever the creative work turns out to be, we don't have to hold tightly to that. We can surrender. Part of Ishvara Pranidhan is acknowledging we can't know the grand design. And no matter how many, chapter 4 of the Yoga Sutras talks about layers of samadhi or enlightenment, the levels of consciousness that are available to us through practice, no matter how many layers of consciousness we move through, it's highly unlikely that we will have the same perspective as the divine impetus of all things. We're in human bodies with human brains, human hormones, electrical impulses flashing around. We can't know everything. We're too in ourselves. We will get greater and greater layers of insight through practice, absolutely, but we do not have access to understanding the complete grand design at this time. So where do ideas come from? It's enough to know that ideas do come. And there was mention today about asking for insight, asking for support, asking for a certain solution or resolution. That asking opens us so that we are better able to receive the idea, the insight, the answer when it comes. This is also part of Ishvara Pranidhan. We don't always know what is meant to be. We talked a little bit about Jonathan Larson, the writer of Rent, who toiled and passed away the night before Rent premiered, which has touched so many lives. He did not see that. Oh, grand design, right? That one's a little bit of the cosmic joke where we see some dark humor in life as well. But we don't always know why hurt happens. What we do know is that through the endeavor of understanding and moving through hurt, connecting to others in our mental health journeys, in our trauma recoveries, that there are unexpected benefits and strengths that arise from even the worst of circumstances. We don't understand the grand design, but we have the option of what level of participation we're going to offer it. So remember, a translation of Ishvara Pranidhan is aspiration, behavior, striving. And when we endeavor to understand why hurt happens or what could come from this hurt or who might benefit from our life story, our experiences, our expressive works, then we are inviting those divine answers. We are inviting the grand design. So we have opportunity in where our efforts might lead. So let's play with that a little bit. I'd ask you to take your fresh sheet of paper and fold it in half. You can do this verbally. I'm cueing it as a graphic depiction, but you can use words instead or as well as, or if you want to do this via movement, you can do some of your movement in one part of the room expressing the one column and some of your movement in another part of the room expressing the other column. Similarly with sound, maybe in a different key or one major, one minor, or however, I mean, it's your expressive work, right? But here on the sheet, in the left panel, depict your associations of surrender. And think of some of the synonyms that we've used today: acceptance, aspiration, allowing, striving. Depict some of the associations, and I'd ask that you depict yourself somewhere in this frame, and in some way how those associations are interacting with you, or how you are interacting with those associations. We'll take just a couple of minutes for this. I encourage you to notice your breath during these depictions, not to change it, just to notice it. Notice the sensations moving through your body and the thoughts that arise in your mind. as you depict yourself in relationship with this concept of Ishvara Pranidhana. And making note for yourself if there's anything you didn't quite get down that you want to come back to, or putting the finishing touches on this for now. The next thing we're going to do is apply some somatic education. You can think of this as yoga. Yoga is not just that narrow bandwidth that we tend to think of via our yoga classes, but yoga is all things, right? And unity with all things. So what's next is that I would ask you to have a look at what you have just depicted and then wander around your space. Just go for a little walk through your space. And as you're walking, at first you are carrying this depiction with you. Walking around the space, contemplating, remembering what it was like to just depict that, how it feels, what you moved through. And then in a location where you have some space to move, find your mountain pose, Tadasana. So you're on that three-prong plug of your foot, plugging into the earth, heel underneath big toe, underneath little toe. Stacking the ankles under the knees, which are unlocked, under the hips. Freedom in that pelvic bowl as you're breathing, the pelvic diaphragm moving with the respiratory diaphragm, in harmony, connected. Ribs over hips, shoulders over ribs, earlobes over shoulders. Softening the face. And notice what happens in the body as you breathe in and raise those arms overhead. As the arms are overhead, maybe you look up and feel an extra reach energetically, a bit more lift way up above you. Connecting to the highest through those spread fingertips, through perhaps a grasping motion. And then bring the palms together if that is suitable for your body, and feel yourself drawing the connection in, drawing it down, crown, third eye, throat, heart, solar plexus, fingertips can point earthward, solar plexus, sacral chakra, root, and letting the hands come apart. Just pausing for a moment, observing, feeling that grounded, sturdy mountain. Appreciating your rootedness into the ancient support of Mother Earth. And then bringing just the right arm up and taking it over into a side bend. Feeling yourself breathing fullness, breathing connection. Trusting the funny twists and turns of material reality, manifested life. Slowly, in your own time, with your own breath, coming through center, pausing for observation, noticing difference between right and left side, and then coming up the other way and easing over, experiencing your physical reality, continually adjusting in the asana for weight on each foot, for lift in the top side and the lower side, for breath, ease in the face. Coming through whenever it's time, back to center, connecting to the current reality, your body, the space around your body. that is still a part of you. Then keeping those fingers spread, splay them out over the back of the rib cage, if that's accessible today. Otherwise, the sides is fine, even onto your chest if that is what's going to work. And give yourself a little back bend, opening the fronts of the vertebrae skyward, staying stable in the pelvis, breathing into the low body, even if you're holding strength there. Openness, receptivity to the wise, high energies. And if you are in a religion, you can feel the presence of that sacred spirit with you as well. Open heart. And then coming straight once again, the natural sweep of the spine, pausing to observe. How is your relationship with the earth now? What are you sensing in the space around you? And if you lift your arms up, doing that widespread finger, or that grasping again, what's the same? What's different in this sensation? Lowering the arms, coming through a little twist. Looking all the way around with the eyes, as far as the eyes can see, around the back of your head. And then tall through the front and around the other way. Looking around with those eyes as well. Forehead relaxed, even though the eyes are stretching. All the way up, around, extra reach, tippy toe if you feel like it, and gently easing into that starting position. Tadasana, one more time, observing what is there. Connecting breath, full tubular breath, lungs expanding and contracting in all directions like balloons, filling, emptying. Appreciating this home coming to your body. And if it's safe for you, close your eyes. Maybe you want to widen your stance a bit for stability. And with the eyes closed, call to mind your intention. This can be an intention you set for the day, an intention you're working with through this new year, seeds that you may be metaphorically planting this spring. And as you connect to the intention, seeing it in your mind's eye, breathing it on your breath, feeling it in your body, allow that divine force, as you define it, to collaborate, support, evolve the intention. Affirm your ability to simultaneously hold the intention and let it go. To keep the essence of the idea, but to trust where it goes and how it turns out. To take appropriate action, but not impose. And it's a delicate balance. And those lines might not always make sense, and that's okay. That's part of the journey as well. But as you bring yourself back now to the other side of the page, or the other part of the room, or the other key, or tempo for your music, whatever your expressive modality is, coming to the other side. And now, depicting yourself true, healthy, empowered, and active in that surrender, an active participant in allowing what is, in letting go, in not needing to know everything, and find peace in this. Depict the safety that is truly an aspect of this concept of Ishvara Pranidhan. As you did for the first half, notice your breath. Notice what arises in your body. Depicting the goodness of surrender. And you might be reflecting on happy accidents that have arisen in your life. Times where you thought maybe you made a mistake, maybe you wasted too much time, maybe it wasn't good enough, and in the end was actually the exact perfect thing. Select your colors, your words, if that's appropriate. Notice the way your instrument moves across the page. And this doesn't have to be completely different from what you did in the first column. This is your activity for yourself to explore your relationship with surrender, your relationship with cosmic forces, the grand design, ultimate reality, creator. And as you're continuing to express, continuing to play, I'll show you very briefly. I did an expressive activity. So me in relationship to surrender, what that brought up for me is I'm sort of eyes crossed and tongue out, a little too passive, too passive. That's what it was there. And in relationship with divine surrender and allowing what is to truly be, not fighting it. Then I just drew myself in Shavasana, just a nice peaceful face, happy, at rest. And it's active rest, because remember, surrender doesn't mean knocking off our action. One of the definitions we discussed today, a literal definition, is to take action, is behavior. But kind of like when we're in Shavasana and we're actively relaxing, we can actively participate in our dreams, in our expressions, our growth, our healing, and trust the divine forces to support that. So we don't have to try so hard. It's not all up to us. And when we think it is all up to us, we tend to turn into this a little bit more. You know, we can make ourselves, we can cause undue stress for ourselves, a mental spinning, perseverating, getting stuck. And when we surrender, there's more opportunity, there's more space to let in. So we'll often, at Yoga Life, we'll often talk about holding things lightly. Just hold the idea lightly, right? Have it, carry the intention, but don't grasp at it. You'll have the same outcomes as when you try to grasp at water. Hold it lightly. You have a whole bowl full. It's very nourishing and refreshing. So before we close out the recording today, I invite those of you who are here today who wish to also share your expressions, because each of us is unique and we have so much to offer. Anybody who's comfortable sharing today, on camera. Now is your chance.
Sure, I'll go.
Okay.
I just thought it was kind of funny that I used stickman too. But in my, excuse me, in my surrender, I jump for joy. And it's not my fault. It just is. And then after I ground in peace and acceptance, and what else did I say? Yeah, I just ground in peace and acceptance.
Beautiful. Thank you.
I'll go.
Hi, Kate.
I use stick figures too, but I put dresses on them, so you can't really tell.
What fun.
So for my surrender, which is, I did the mountain pose, which is such a surrender to me. You know, it's not really a surrender. I guess it is a surrender, but I'm still in my center, in my power, you know, centering with the earth and just, you know, letting it go at the same time. And then here I'm just coming into my, I guess, my star pose, and I'm just coming up and just letting it all go, giving it out, giving it out. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Kate.
And then hold it lightly, I wrote a top.
Thank you. When we give it out, that's transformative as well, right? Especially when we're conscious of where we're giving it to. If we're just sending it out there, then all the empaths pick up, oh, the world's terrible and I'm so drained. But which I'm actually doing a 7-week course on how to defend ourselves against this habit that we might have. But when we send it out with intention like that, then that higher reality, Ishvara, takes it and transforms it. So the entire world is better through our letting go. Just wanted to springboard off that depiction. Thanks, Kate.
I guess I have to turn on my camera if I want to share.
It helps. Hi, Clarence.
Hi, so here I am, like I'm there on the bird and flying up in the sky. That was the surrender. And holding things lightly is the other half. My cat's angry about our talk. She's wanting to bite me.
Oh, I thought those were kisses. I should have known better.
Oh, she's not happy. Ow! 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 Stop it. Go away. Go away. Stop it. I guess I'll move. Anyways, that is, I'm not obviously grabbing things because it's all very loose. And no spine on mine.
No spine. So much space, though. So much space.
Ah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. There we go.
It makes me think of what comes into spaces, right? It makes me think of opportunity, options. And that is this, right? Lovely.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you too. So some of our friends had meetings and obligations. So we'll miss them through these closing moments, but thanks everybody. Thank you for your ideas, for your sharing, for your participation. Remember to post to the group so that we can continue to evolve our ideas and share and know that we're not alone on this journey. And it doesn't all have to be like happy expected outcomes either, right? You're welcome to share whatever is true. The group is there for support, for acknowledgement. So none of us is alone on this journey. If you have any questions about the concepts or the idea of mental health and trauma recovery through expressive arts and yoga, oh, look who's back, then please do feel welcome to reach out. And Bonnie, sorry you got booted there. We were just finishing up the day, but if you wanted to share your expression, you don't have to, but if you wanted to share your expression, there's time for that.
Just trying to find my way back in here.
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, I don't know what happened there.
Tech.
Yeah.
Speaking of holding things lightly and surrendering.
Oh yeah. So okay, just getting that. I'm not sure I understood the first part. This was me surrendering. But it was surrendering was for me having open arms to what is.
Yeah.
But I noticed, yeah, the legs are low.
Mm.
And then after all the body movement, I felt more grounded and in my body. And so it was just about growth, just growing naturally. At whatever pace it ends up being, however many leaves want to sprout out or not. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Sorry, I missed everybody else's sharings.
Well, they shall be available on YouTube.
Great.
Helps us out if you like it, if you share it with people who might benefit, if you subscribe. You know, the more of us who are on this journey collectively, the more we're supporting a peaceful world, alignment, unity. So thanks to everybody who's here live, who's here later, for offering your energy and intentions. May we continue to grow and thrive. Until next week, every Wednesday at 12:30 Eastern. Thanks, everybody.